What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Episode 3. And it's called The Trial of Sabrina Spellman.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best signs, our MVPs, our LVPs. So be sure to stick around for that. And if you guys want, send us your best moments and your best LVPs and your MVPs on Twitter.
Yeah, and make sure that you do that so then we can talk about them at the end of the episode.
And use the hashtag Sabrina and Chill so that we can find them.
Exactly. And for anybody who's just joining us, thank you so much for coming through. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And for all of our returning listeners, thanks so much for coming back. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
Let's get in it. Episode 3.
Episode 3. It's getting there. It's really building.
It's building, and one of the things I told J-Lag, like, it's completely veering off the comics at this point.
Okay.
Like, a pivotal moment never happened, and so I'm left sort of shook, which I kind of like, because I'm like, okay, now I don't know where they're like, I know where they're going, but like I don't know what's happening at this point. So it's kind of fun watching it and not having any idea as to what they're going to do with it.
I think that's one of the things that you have to remember with like the adaptations of comics. Like you shouldn't really follow like what's happening because they definitely try to change it up for both viewers. I really do like that though, because I think just based on what we were talking about for the past couple podcasts, like the fact that they haven't changed so much of it so far is exciting. Because of course, like I want to watch it with you and like know that like you're just as shook about what's happening in the story too. So yeah, it's exciting. And I think they're doing like not knowing anything about the comics. I like the pace of it. I don't know what happens in the comics that it was so pivotal that changes it so early on in the story because I really do feel like they're building to something greater and maybe that's what we're going to see, the thing that you saw in the very beginning of the comics, but it just extends the shelf life, I think, of the story.
Those key points still have to happen. It's just when does it happen?
When do they happen? Okay, that's fair. Okay, so let's just start right off the top. And it's really cool. It seems as though they carry right after what happens the episode beforehand.
Right.
So like last episode, right at the very end, the principal gets possessed by the devil, and then so this cuts to her running out and then going straight into the bathroom and like puking because she's like feeling sick. And of course she bumps into Mrs. Wardwell in the bathroom. She's like, "Oh, daughter, are you okay?" Like she's just like, you know what, helping her out, and she like gives her a towel to like wipe her mouth. And so that's just like a little quick moment. She's like, "Don't worry, like the principal's kind of crazy sometimes, whatever." But she obviously knows that like she was possessed. Then it cuts to the Spellman household, and Ambrose is just chilling with like the aunts, and we just get a little bit of extra information about him. We find out that he can't have a familiar because he's like, "Can I have this like iguana that's like still here?" And they're like, "No, you know that's a part of your
like
house arrest."
Yeah.
So we also find out that he's under house arrest.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to leave the house at all.
Yeah.
So now we get some answers as to the reason why. Well, at least like
the
fact that
I'm
he
sure
is there,
but
for sure they're gonna have to like talk about how he got arrested. So we also learned a little bit about familiars. They die without their masters because they're like, you can't have that one because
the connection's gone.
So he's just keeping it in the room until it dies, I guess. Then it cuts back to the school, and Sabrina's still like having like PTSD from the principal, so she keeps like envisioning him like gurgle like, at the mouth and stuff. And all the while like Roz is like going through some moments like with her freaking life right now this episode. She's like going in hard, so she's like, "No to the oppression, like they can't let us read these books, and like there's all these banned books I'm not allowed to use anymore." She's just like pissed. And Sabrina's like, "No, we gotta like figure this out." Actually, she doesn't even say anything because I think she's just like still shooketh by what happened to her, that she's like, "Okay, Roz, like let's just go to the principal."
Go with it,
So then they're like, we gotta go to the principal, and like Sabrina's like not even sitting in the chair because she's so scared, which is interesting. And I guess we can talk about the fact that she still seems very intimidated by
all of this,
the Dark Lord. Like, you know, we look at this character and we see that she's like kind of fearless, and she like stands up for her rights and she wants to fight back, but clearly she's still a little scared of the devil. I mean, of course.
But it seems like they've left her alone for most of her life about all of these things.
True.
And it's like as soon as her birthday was coming up, they're like, let's like bombard her whole life with all this witchy things and the devil. So yeah, she's definitely shooketh. Like she's not it's not like she takes it and she's like, no, that wasn't scary. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
She's very like shocked.
She's very scared. So anyway, she's like curled up at the door and he's like, what's wrong with you?
Like, why are you looking at me like that?
But anyway, so the real principal is like, sorry, like we can't do anything about the book. Like some of the books are just banned.
Yeah.
And then Roz just gets enraged. And so she goes to the library and a lot of
their
books
student lounge. Yeah. It was the library or the student lounge?
They go to the library.
The library. Okay. Because the school kind of looks like Riverdale too.
It totally looks like
There's some
Riverdale.
like iconic like rooms that like I'm like that looks like it could be from the Riverdale set. So
for sure. Yeah, you can definitely see the connections in like the set
which
design.
makes sense because like the towns are side by side. Like,
Slash like it's the same producers. Like,
yeah.
like the same costume designers and set designers. So then it cuts back to the house, the Spellman mortuary, and they find out, or at least Sabrina finds out at that moment, that she's been summoned for an inferno hearing.
Yeah, like she has
so
to go
she's
to
under
court.
trial.
Which court?
For betraying a contract.
She's like, I'm getting sued by the devil.
And she's like, no. And she says, she's like, actually, like the Dark Lord like came through for me today at school.
Yeah.
And like Zelda's pretty gagged because she's
They're
like,
all
that's
gagged,
never happened before. So it's like pretty intense. Like you can
like they're
tell
coming for her.
Yeah, they're definitely coming for her, and like just seeing their shock shows that like he doesn't do this for just anybody.
No, of course not.
He's definitely just doing it to like
for
screw
her.
with her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like scary to see that there's like something big happening, and you find out that not only is she on trial, but the entire Spellman household. Well, at least like the two aunts are, because they were her guardian.
Yeah, and they should have like known better. They should have done better for her.
Right.
So they, I guess, temporarily lose their powers, right?
Yes. So their powers are being stripped and they're slowly like decaying.
They're getting older.
Like literally Hilda's tooth. She's like, hi, my tooth is missing. I love, like, honestly, I love Hilda.
You know what? You need their contrast. You need the contrast between like that, you know, strict
Realness.
aunt, that bitchy aunt, and then like her being like this goofy with a big heart. Like you need that in the show for sure.
She's definitely like the comedic relief.
Yeah.
Like she just like her smiles, her eyes, like everything about her character is very like very entertaining. And I definitely just want to do like GIFs of Hilda.
Yeah.
Like a whole like super cut of her. Then it cuts to Ambrose and Sabrina, and Ambrose gives some more really sound advice. And I love that Ambrose is this character for her, because like I said, the aunts are more of a like guardian. They don't do anything.
Yeah, it's like having a sibling, right? It's like having a sibling.
Yeah, but he acts as like that sibling who knows a little bit more about the magic world. So he says, why don't you go find this guy, Daniel Webster? He might help you out, because he's like, he knows which law and he can be your lawyer. So then she's like, okay, true. Then it cuts to Faustus, like the Mr. Priest Blackwood, and Zelda. And Zelda's like kind of trying to talk him through, and it looks like they have a bit of history together. And she was like, I'm so sorry, boo boo. Like my girl's like crazy.
Do anything for you?
Yeah. And he's like, don't worry, girl. Like, we're gonna go through this trial, and like you might lose all your powers. Like, and then he like strokes her hair, and her hair
falls out.
starts falling out. I'm like, that is embarrassing.
And she just like takes it back. She's like, give me back my hair.
It's like the most embarrassing thing that could ever happen. I think he's just like, sorry about it, like, but we have to do this trial, because she really is just asking like, is there anything that we can do on our side to like help this along? And then once she leaves, Miss Wardwell comes in, and you can tell that there's like a bit of back and forth between them two. You saw it in the last episode too, but I think you're just gonna keep seeing this like back and forth between Miss Wardwell and Blackwood. What do you think that whole dynamic is? Because they both work for the same person.
They both work for the devil. They seem like they're both you know, crazy about Sabrina. That's like their like mission.
For Sabrina, yeah.
But it seems like Miss Wardwell definitely has a one up on him. I don't know if that's because like she's in higher ranks maybe than him, or like her powers are stronger than the guy. So I don't really know much else, but it seems like you were saying, she's playing the long game, and he's like, I still have to get Sabrina. So I don't know.
I think that and also I think to your point, I don't know about if it's about rank, but maybe about like species. Like he's definitely a warlock. Like he is a warlock. He has like powers or whatever, but he calls her a demoness. So I don't think that she's a witch, which is like a different, so that I guess in that particular sense, she has some different power.
And that's what
like,
I mean. I
she's
feel
going
like
about it
ranking wise, though,
differently.
like she might be a little bit more powerful than him.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. Like she's like waiting for him to like do his job. She's like, but I'm gonna do it better.
Yeah.
It might be something like that, right?
And also, like, she kind of comes for him. She's like, she calls him like, she basically says, "You're still a man, and
Yeah.
I like eat men's flesh."
Exactly.
So I'm like, is she a succubus? Like, is she someone who like just like kills men? Like, I don't know what her situation is, but yeah. So anyway, that happens, and then it cuts to Sabrina, and she goes to visit Daniel Webster in his house. And she asks for his help, and his place is like so like gross and like grimy. Like there's like stacks of paper everywhere, and he's like, "Sorry, I can't help you." And then at the very end of that scene, he like walks forward to like a picture of a girl on the wall, and obviously like
he
he
just
has like
looks sad.
a dog past, whatever.
Yeah.
So then we find that out a little bit later. Then it cuts to Harvey at home, and he ain't got
Poor
no
Harvey.
That ain't no Fred Andrews. Like his dad is not some type of nice person. So first of all, he has a hot brother named Tom,
And he loves to draw. Like that's like Harvey's thing, right?
He's like a comic book drawer,
an artist,
basically.
yeah.
Like he's talking to his brother, and he's like, "Yes, I'm so lit. Like, I want to work at the like comic book shop nearby, or like the service bookstore." And then the dad comes in, who's like also like kind of low-key hot, but he's like hot angry daddy. But he just like gets mad at
He's
Harvey.
like, "Why aren't you working already? You're 16 years old. You
Yeah.
should be in the mines." I was like, he is 16 years old. He's still going to school.
Like,
why are
let
you
him be.
making him work in the mines? Like, I just didn't understand why he was so lit on that fact. Like,
I think, well, the one thing that we have to remember is the Kinkles own the mines. Like it's in their family.
okay, so why are you making him go right now?
Yeah, I don't know why he's so angry and he like wants him to do hard labor like so
Yeah.
early on in his
Like,
life.
I get it.
but-
They're trying to show like tension in his house. I get that. Like, everyone has issues with their parents, but like him coming in so hard for like him not working was a little weird. Like, I just didn't buy it completely.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm like, but he's still in high school. Like, why are you making him work like so intensely? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Anyway, so then that happens and he's like, you have to like
Yeah,
work.
you
Like,
have to
tomorrow
work. I'm
you're
gonna
going
beat
to
your
work.
ass up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to the courtroom.
Yeah.
And they're all just kind of like hanging out and they're all talking about the whole court, and they call Sabrina to the stand to say something, and then in that moment Daniel Webster comes in and he's like, "I'm gonna represent you,"
Of course.
and then he's like, "Where's all the proof?" Like he says essentially like
She deserves a fair trial.
She deserves a fair trial. And then at that point Blackwood pulls out a book and he's like gags everybody and he's like, "Okay, well, you have a lawyer, let's do this."
This was a pretty WTF moment too.
Yeah, for sure. So he pulls out the book and
basically Sabrina's name.
Yeah, he calls Zell to the front, and she has to like read out and testify this whole situation. Right. And it looks like Sabrina's name has been written
been written into the book from time.
From time, and they're so confused because they're like, why?
Like how?
How's it possible? Because this is dated like 3 days after she was born.
He's like, how would a baby sign her name in the book?
It's not even possible.
Yeah.
And Zelda says like the dad wrote it in there like as like security or whatever.
Yeah, that should be into the dark, whatever.
Yeah. And so then it cuts back to home, and then Sabrina like just goes off.
Yeah,
she's like pissed off, and she's like,
totally fair.
"I can't believe you did that. Like, how would you have already known that situation? Why would he do that to me?
He chose this for me, basically."
Yeah, and you find out that the reason why he did it, and it was because it was to give permission to marry the mom.
Yes.
So
another big gag point. So basically, Zelda was like, in order for your dad to marry your mom, who was immortal, he's had to sign your name already. So like, it's giving like a deal to the devil, being like, yeah, my daughter's gonna be with you if I get to be with like my wifey. But like, which is a pretty selfish freaking thing to do as a dad. It is a pretty selfish
freaking thing. And at the same time, like the parents dying and like me knowing that it might not have been an accident.
Yeah.
It makes you think that possibly like she could have gotten out of it anyway, to be like, if she's able to prove the fact that her parents were murdered, then like that union wasn't like really approved 100%. Anyway, I just think that there's so much more to that part of the story, and it's very interesting that, you know, like he signed the book, but he kind of knew that she wasn't going to like be a part of, I don't know like if he had known that like she was gonna fight back and be like, no, I'm not gonna be a part of this, or like why would he just sign her name away? Maybe he thought that he was gonna be alive so he can like get her out of it.
I'm
like,
sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, A, he probably thought that, or B, he thought like my sisters are gonna like take care of her, so it's fine. And then like she's part of the world that I've always been a part of. So like, why not? Right.
That's true.
So
that's true.
You know,
and like, that's the thing. Like, Sabrina gets mad at Zelda. She's like, I can't believe you just stood there and like let him do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's that exact point. It's like Zelda knows no better but that
and that's
world.
your father, right?
So like she thinks it's normal. She's like, oh, she's just getting baptized. She's like signing a paper and that's it. Like, it's not a big deal. And so then it cuts back to Daniel Webster, and he's just like chilling in his room, and then he sees his daughter, like her neck is slit, and she's like, Danny, why did you kill me?
TikTok.
So so like this ghost of his daughter comes in and kind of like haunts him from the back, and she says like, why are you helping this innocent girl? Like, you, the same thing's gonna happen to her, like the same thing that happened to me. And then she kind of like she like TikToks like all the way back to the back of the room, and then she passes some books, and it's actually like Miss Wardwell just like fucking him up. So what, that's the question, like what was her intention of acting as the daughter that's just going to entice him to be her lawyer? That's what I mean. No, I think that she was trying to terrify him so he doesn't move forward, because like,
oh my god, this girl, she can't do anything
she
right.
Can't do anything right. So anyway, we'll talk more about that later.
So you're saying her intention was to scare him so much that like he didn't he didn't stand up for Sabrina. And then this guy goes and like takes the case even more, like hard.
Even harder. He's like, I'm gonna win for real now. So like, for sure Miss Wardwell is like not doing this right at all. But I guess at that point in time, he was gonna help her anyway. You know what I mean?
But it did light a fire under his ass. He's like, for my daughter.
He like went in. So then it cuts to Harvey and Sabrina, and they're just like chilling in the woods. And he's like, how are you doing? She's like, I don't want to talk about it. And she asked him like, how are you doing? And he's like, it's been really tough. My dad wants me to work in the mines. And he's like, but like, Loki, I want to tell you a story about this, and it might be weird, which is hilarious that like he's telling this weird secret story. But he's like, when I was 8 years old, I was hiding in the mines because like we were playing hide and seek with my brother. And
he's like, I was such an idiot. I like ran into the mines.
So he went in there, and as he was hiding, he kind of got lost, and then he saw something in the background, and it shows him seeing the Dark Lord come out, and he was like, it's like a match of like, he's like a bunch of matches like went off, and she was like, it's like fire and brimstone. So it's like literally fire and brimstone. Hell had opened, and the Dark Lord just came out. So he literally saw it. So he was scared shitless, and ever since then he's like been scarred for life. I can't
go into the mines.
He's like, I'm scared. And he's like, maybe he's like down there waiting for me, and she's like, oh, that's like definitely the Dark Lord. She's like, fuck.
They were there last time.
So then it cuts to school, and like Roz is like so cheese still. She's like throwing out flyers. She's just pissed off. And then the principal comes by, and he's like, yo, Roz, like, what are you doing? And Sabrina's like, well, you can't expel her for like just handing out like flyers and exposing the truth that like you guys ban bugs.
He's like, calm down.
He's like, I'm talking to the freaking council. Like, don't worry. Like, just come with me. Like, we'll just like talk it out. So then she like feels a little bit better about that, and then it cuts to Ambrose at the funeral home, and it's Connor's funeral. So this is the warlock or the witch from like last episode that died, and he sees like a hot ass guy in the top corner.
So excited.
I was like,
I was still looking at Ambrose because like Ambrose is effing hot.
Like they're both hot, but like I'm always
there's just something different looking about him. That I love. He's not your typical like.
Yeah, but he's very intriguing, and he is very handsome. I think he's very handsome,
in like a very different way. It's not like a
classic way.
Classic like Archie, like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Like then we see this other hot guy like lurking in the back, and he's just like smirking at Ambrose the entire time, and you can tell that they're like gonna fuck at some point. Like, so
I was like, yes, fuck.
I was like yelling.
So he goes up to him, and he's like, hey, do you know like Connor? He was like, what was your relationship? Does he say he was my boyfriend?
He says we dated like on and off from time to time. So like, you know, you finally find out at that point that like they were gay together. Ambrose is like, ooh. So he's like getting excited, and he talks about the iguana. He talks about
the lizard. He's like, he had a lizard, like a big lizard,
like a big fat.
He loved
lizard.
playing with it in his room.
So many.
It was like so many. And then Ambrose is like, I have one upstairs. I have his upstairs.
Like in my room.
To see him? Check. You missed him. He missed you.
So then at that point in time, Luke is like, no, I'm good for now, but like wink later.
He did invite him up, but he didn't accept.
Right. So then it cuts to Sabrina, and she's in class, and she kind of just like is chilling, and then the whole room just freezes.
Yeah, everyone just like. Yeah,
and I guess it's like Miss Wardwell. It's kind of like screwing her up.
She's doing something.
Yeah, she's like doing some craziness. Because then you see again like the daughter,
like, of Mr. Webster, right?
Yeah.
And then so Sabrina follows the daughter through the hallways. They end up at the library, right?
Yeah, because she put together a book. She literally put together an entire book of like scrapbook.
Miss Wardwell. It was like she was like gluing like newspapers together.
Yeah, she was like scrapbooking, like an entire article like book of Daniel Webster's cases.
Yeah,
and you find out that he like protected so many like child murderers.
So Sabrina reads the thing.
Yes.
Then she freaks out.
She freaks out because she realized that he's
like an evil person.
He's a bad lawyer. Like,
then she goes to see him.
So then she goes to visit him, and then she's like, "Why are you helping me? Scene. You like freaking like." Protector of the damned.
She's like, you protected like child rapists and murderers. She's like, how could you, like, there's no way you're gonna be my lawyer.
So then you find out the whole story about Daniel Webster, and he says like, I honestly, like, I was so young and I wanted to be one of the greatest lawyers of all time. So then he literally says that he signed his name away to the devil, which is why he became such a good lawyer.
I signed my name, all of a sudden I was winning all my cases, and he's like,
but then he realized that like all of them were like the most fucked up ones. Like they were like
fucked up people,
killers. There were people who were actually guilty, but he kept getting them off. And so finally, like, there was one where he got one of the killers off, and the killer ended up going to his house and like doing the same thing that he
did, like raped his daughter and killed her.
Like fucking,
like it got really dark. It got really dark, and I was like, oh my god.
Like, it's not that I was gagged by the moment, but like the fact that like he's like literally saying like the devil made me, like the devil, and it's such a shitty, like, anybody that knows like the whole history, or not history, but like that folklore and the mythology around the devil, and the fact that he like really screws you, like when he gives you something, he doesn't ever like give you what you want.
Like it was such a well scripted scene. Yeah, like one of my favorite scenes probably of the episode, where he was like, he gives you it, but like he takes it away too, or he gives you it, but it's always at a cost. It never comes like just free, or that you've earned it, or no, like he's gonna give you everything, but then like he can take it away. Right.
And so he's like, but I'm gonna help you, like I'm gonna do everything I can to help you. And that's when I wrote down like Miss Wardwell is literally the worst person. Like she literally can't do anything right. She does push him like even harder once he remembers that. And that she like, even her trying to do that thing to Sabrina to be like, yo, you fucked him up, he's like, here's the truth, and she's like, true. Seriously. Like she literally like pushed them harder together. I'm like, you're useless.
Yeah, because then Sabrina's like, okay, sick, like you're still my lawyer.
She's like a shitty Sailor Moon like villain at this point. Like worse. So then it cuts to court, and like Webster takes the angle that she's half witch, half mortal. Yeah. And she's like, that means that
like she should be tried as a half mortal as well.
There should be like a half mortal like court. There should be
a jury, like a mortal jury to be there to like decide on her like fate.
And he's like, I want the venue to change. Like he goes in and just like change shit up. Yeah. And
it was surprising to me at how fair the court is. Right. Like at any moment they could just like spew fire and like kill everyone and be like, we're done with this conversation. You know, like
it's true. I guess like at the end of the day, there's still like laws that they have to follow. They're not like just like these people that can do everything. Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, it is true that they can't just break these rules all the time. And then it cuts to Ambrose in his room, and he's chilling, and then he like hears something outside, and then sure enough, like Luke like literally like appears in front of his door. And he's like, how did you get in here?
He's like in the room now.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, are you a vampire? Because like he already invited him in, and he's like, no, I'm a warlock, and he's like, just like you, and he's like, ooh, is that an iguana? He's like, let me see your iguana.
Yeah, like, and then like they just like, ooh.
And then they see each other's iguanas. Like it's so fast and sexy, and I was like, yo, guys, I'm discussing. So then it cuts to the court, and the like I just love that like there's like the Spellman like ants and like Sabrina are like
fighting for their lives,
and like he's out here like, getting fighting the D. So anyway, it's at the court, and the high priest decides that okay, fine, like I'm taking that evidence in, but let's like do like the trial by water, like literally make her like drown, and if she floats, like she's a witch. Like just how they used to do
so
like
basically she's gonna die. die.
Yeah. And they're like,
she could die.
You need to find like her witch's mark, which you don't have.
Yeah.
So like you're not even really.
They give her a couple options. So the first option was the water test.
Yeah.
Second option was like, you're gonna like get naked in front of all of us, and we're gonna see if you have the witch's mark.
Yeah. So then.
And anyway, the third one was.
I don't remember. Like, just take the plea deal. I have no idea. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was more of like an in-depth. Like bargain,
situation.
or let's you say that after when he comes.
I think that's that's later. Yeah. So then, so anyway, it's right now. So then it cuts to home.
It's right now.
And
so they're in the kitchen.
They're in the kitchen. They're chilling, and they're like, "Oh God, what are we gonna do?" And the high priest just like walks right in. He's like, "Don't worry, y'all. I got you, fam.
I got another sickening deal on Groupon.
Sickening plea bargain." And basically, he says like, "We'll drop all the charges if she starts right now. Goes to jail.
She can go to the school." Yeah. She can visit her friends like twice a week. Like he bargained with her.
Yeah, he's like once a year.
He's like on the weekends or whatever it was. Like,
he literally like said once a year. Yeah. It was like such a shit deal.
Go see your mortal friends.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
It was like the worst.
And then Zella's like, take the deal.
Yeah. And then Webster's like, no thanks. We're gonna pass on
even
that.
Sabrina was like, no, like this doesn't sound like, why is he bargaining with me? Like,
yeah. And that's what Webster said too. He's like, there has to be a reason why they're being bargained. He's like, don't forget who you're freaking dealing with. You're literally dealing with a devil. You can't freaking bargain like that shit away. Like he's gonna double cross you for sure. And then it cuts to the next morning, and Ambrose like wakes up. He's like lit. He's like, oh yeah, he just got it in, like whatever. And he sees Luke's number on the
He's like,
ceiling.
Got his number.
It's like literally like etched into the wood.
Yeah, because I was like, what is that?
I was like, you couldn't just like write it on a piece of paper or like Instagram him.
So then he goes over to the lizard tank.
Yeah,
and the lizard's like dead.
But he's not even just dead. It's almost like he morphed into like there were like horns sticking out of him. Like I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm like, I don't think that's the anatomy of an iguana.
Like he didn't look dead. He looked like he was flipped over. His skin was like almost rotted a little bit.
Yeah, it's like he like accelerated death or whatever. Yeah. And like the first thing I thought was like freaking
the
like
guy
Luke,
did
like,
it
Luke
for sure. And then
him.
Ambrose is like, "Oh, you poor thing, you just died.
You just died. You
couldn't
live without your
Are
thing.
you not thinking clearly right now?"
Yes, he's digmatized. He's literally digmatized. Like that's like his thing.
Like.
I don't know. I
for sure, there's something shady about him.
Yes,
for sure,
100%. There's something shady. He probably had to like go and kill the familiar just so like he can make sure that he doesn't know like all the secrets. Yeah. Like we're wondering whether or not like Luke. Do you think that Luke could be a witch hunter?
Like or something for sure.
Something different.
He's shady.
Yeah, it's always the hotties.
Yeah,
he's so hot,
and he got so close to him so quickly. Like for sure, something's up.
Yeah, for sure. So then it cuts to Harvey and Sabrina, and they're in the forest again. Like it's like their favorite place to be. Yeah. And she's like, okay, listen. She like puts her bag down, and she's like, I need you to do something for me. And she's like, I need you to find my birthmark. Right. And he's like, what? And then
she's like, I'm gonna take off my clothes right now, and you're gonna check. He's like, like he was like glitching. He's like, I don't know what's happening. She's like, I'm gonna take off my shirt, and you're gonna check my back. Like I need to know. He's like, okay. And then he like takes off his clothes. Like he takes off his glitter.
He's so cute though. So cute. He's such a dork.
Like they're so cute together.
Yeah, like she takes off her shirt, and then he like takes removes his shirt. I'm like, does he think that they're having sex?
I was like, why are they in the forest?
Yeah. I was like, do you have to do this in this moment right now? I just felt like it was very extra.
Yeah,
but
it was very like Twilight.
It's annoying that it's like so cute. Yeah, because like you want to be
he's
like,
just so effing cute. It's him. Like it's mostly him and his
but it's also like Sabrina like deciding to want to do this in the freaking woods.
Well, the first
like could you do this in the bathroom? Like why?
Yeah. So anyway, so he checks her and he doesn't see anything.
I mean, he like checks like half of her. He doesn't even like go all the way.
Way too excited to like finish.
She's like, check my butt later. But like, yeah, basically he doesn't do anything like except like make out with her at the very end of it. But like, yeah, they have these really
so cute.
They insert these really adorable moments.
Because I was telling Jill, like I was like, it's like them being intimate or getting to see each other like naked, but they're not having sex just yet. So like it was a really innocent and cute moment, and like Harvey was like, I cannot process it.
You can tell that he's like very shook by the whole situation. So then it cuts to school, and Sabrina's with her girls again, and Roz is like sad, like extra sad.
Yeah, like extra.
Because we're not even sure. Like, because even in the beginning of the episode, you're like, why is she going so hard in on these like banned books? Like, go get a Kindle. Like,
so she goes even harder now because she's like, now the PTA is making us wait 3 months for them to like assess the book to see if it's fine to make it whatever. She's like, 3 months.
Yeah,
and then Sabrina, even Susie's like, girl, like it's okay, like
it's just 3 months.
It's like not 3 years.
It's like kind of like a win. And then she realizes, she starts crying. She's
Sabrina's like, what's wrong?
She's like, I have
her acting's really good though. The girl,
Jazz Sinclair. So she like freaks out a little even more, and then she finally tells them, she's like, I have myopic something, like, whatever.
She's losing her eyesight. It was like so heartbreaking.
And she's like, within the next 3 months, like the doctor told me actually that like I could be going blind.
It's really sad.
And then we were like, don't worry, you can listen to our podcast, it's fine. It's she's like just depressed.
You know what's funny? Like even in Riverdale too, like we haven't ever witnessed a kid going through a really big health scare. Like we've never, even in like other shows that we've watched, like we don't really experience that, where like the risk is so real. Like she can't do anything about it.
If we do want to wrap the fact that like Betty's literally going through mental health issues,
I know, but like what I mean is like cancer or like something like
a physical health issue for sure. So it's interesting to see that, but at the same time I'm like Sabrina got you, girl. Like she'll just like probably like give her sight back. But definitely like it was a sad moment. You can see her like going through her real emotions about, you know, losing your eyesight is a huge thing, especially when you're like 16 years old.
Especially when she likes to read.
Yeah, exactly. So like you can tell that that's the reason why she like cares so much. Yeah. And so as they're having a moment on this couch in the library, you can see like freaking Miss Wardwell being like, I'm lurking again. Like
lurk as much as you want, girl, but you have not done anything yet. It's episode 3 and you still haven't done anything.
But I definitely think, like I said, she's like playing the long game. She's definitely like setting all this up to make sure that she's gonna like use this against her eventually. So then it cuts to the mines, and Tommy and Harvey are like going ready
to work for the first day.
Tommy's like getting lit. He's like, let's go through. So he's walking, and then Harvey like freezes like right at the front doors. He can't even like go past like the front door. And Tommy realizes, and it's really cute that Tommy is so compassionate. Like he's very much he's not like
the dad at all.
He's not like the dad at all, and he's not like the aggressive like older brother, you know, that you would see like the bully brothers. Like, stop being such a bitch, like get inside here.
Because the dad's that role, so like they can't both be.
I mean, they could be. He could be like living some really shitty life, but then again, like Harvey's
so like Harvey glitches out in that moment. He's like, oh no. He's like, I can't go in. And then like Tommy knew right away. He's like, I know, it's okay. Like I remember. He's like, that's
I got
fine.
You, fam. Like just
go
like,
home. Yeah.
He's like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. So then it cuts back to the house, and Sabrina decides, she's like, I'm not taking the deal. We're going to do this like birthmark test. Yeah. And they're like, you want them to like literally strip you down.
You naked. Everyone's going to see your titties and then like everything.
She's like, literally, I don't care. Everybody saw my titties in episode 1 of the show. Like, I'm fine.
She's like, I've seen way worse things. She's like, I don't care. Like, let's just be done with it. They've done worse things for me right now. Like, I'm good.
And then in that moment, so as she's like going upstairs, she's like lit, she's going to do the test. Hilda, like, she's like, you're not she gets even more sad. She's like, I can't believe she's going through all this shit right now. We have to help her. We have to make sure that she's okay. And then Zelda's like, why are you turning up so hard? And Hilda like reveals the fact that she like also has a secret.
Yeah, she has secrets.
So then she walks into her room, and then she like opens up this chest, and it's like a baby book. She like charms it to like show a baby book. Then it cuts to Harvey at home, and like the dad comes in. He's so freaking pissed. He's like, "Work on the mines.
I'm gonna kill your freaking face!" Like he like charges for him in his room. Like it was too much.
It was very aggressive. Like even if he was like an alcoholic or something,
like this kid didn't come to work, and that's how hard this dad went in on him.
Why he's so strict? He's going to school. Like he's drawing pictures. Yeah. Like, what's the big deal? I do hope that like I hate when they have these like one-dimensional characters. Yeah. Well, my assumption is that like we see that he doesn't seem to have a mom like to protect him. She must have. So maybe she was an artist. Like maybe like whenever he sees her, like I do hope. I know that like this might not be just about the parents. Like this isn't Riverdale, but at the same time, like I don't like these one-dimensional like main like, you know, side characters either, where like I want to see a little bit more of Tommy. I want to see like if we're gonna go there, let's go there.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah.
So anyway, so he gets pissed off, and then Tommy comes in and protects him. He's like, don't worry, like you don't need all these people at the freaking mine, like we'll get more people. He just can't do it right now, like leave him alone. So you can also see that Tommy's a protector, which also makes me like worry a lot about Tommy. Yeah, because I'm like, that first protector always stop being so nice, because you're gonna get killed. Then it cuts to the courtroom, and they're like, are you ready to like strip down to nothing so we can like check your body? And she's about to do it. Down. And then Hilda's like, wait. So she like walks.
Yeah, and she can't walk because like she's losing her. Yeah, she's like getting old, right? Yeah. So she's like kind of like.
So she comes limping. So she comes in with the book. She steps forward and then she shows it to Webster, and Webster calls her to the front. Stand, yeah. And she basically says like she was already done baptized a day before.
It was a certificate from the Catholic Church or whatever.
From the Holy Mother of the Church, like in Greendale.
Yeah.
And so she got done baptized.
She was baptized the day before. The dad wrote her name in the book of the devil or whatever.
And so like it wasn't first. Like Blackwood even tries to turn and is like, oh, it looks like there's a contestant for like her soul. Yeah. And like Webster's goes like, even harder. He's like, no. Like
she's full out.
She's full out baptized.
Or
like
whatever.
She's Christian. She's like she's from the Holy Church. And they're like, this is outrageous. So you can tell that Blackwood's starting to get like very like concerned about the fact that he might be losing this case. He's like, this is outrageous. This has become like a crazy courtroom. Yeah. Like what's going on up in here? And then like freaking Sabrina stands up. She's like, you know what's outrageous? The devil's attitude. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. I was like,
girl, you gotta sit down right now. He's gonna kill you.
Chill out.
And then like the doors, like the floor doors, like open
front,
and
like they
flames.
blast open. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh.
I literally thought that he was gonna walk out.
Yeah, I wanted him to walk out.
Bitches. Yeah. But he seems like he's like taking like the back seat. Like he's still like a no name face right
So
now.
then like Webster and like the father, whatever his face is.
Yeah, they have to like
he calls them to like the back room.
Right.
There's a chambers.
He goes downstairs. They both go downstairs. And then it shows a really quick moment of Zelda and Hilda like kind of going at it with each other. She's like, I can't believe you lied to me.
Outside, yeah.
Yeah, and Zelda's like, you lied to me too. Yeah. Like they're both kind of
sorry, and the big thing was too that like Hilda did it with Diana. Yes, like Sabrina's mom. Yeah. So that's a huge thing too, because Sabrina's like, wait, like why didn't my parents agree on my thing? Like why did my mom go to the church? Yeah. And my dad took me to like the devil like side. So like what's going on?
Exactly. And so Zelda gets so they both get kind of cheesed because like they both lied to each other, like essentially. Exactly. And so then it cuts back to the court, and they decide that she's allowed to retain her mortal life, her moral life, but then she also has to join the academy.
She has to go to school,
and she has to go to Black Mass like every Sunday or something. So like that's the deal. She accepts the deal, and then that's the end of the court case. So what does that all entail? So does she have to leave school?
I guess she's gonna have to leave school. But then like that's my question. Like she goes to this school, but she's not a witch. So like what is she gonna do there?
I don't know.
They're gonna make her life miserable. That's what they're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole. And he says that after too. He's like, I'm gonna make it a living hell,
right?
And then make her want to become a witch, basically.
I don't know if anyway. We'll see where this all goes, but like. I don't know why they would show like I'm down for like a Hogwarts style like magical academy, like don't get me wrong, but I just don't know like introducing a new school right now, episode 4, like by episode 4, like 5 or whatever. Yeah, it's just gonna be. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes. So then, anyway, right before that all happens, or like anyway, before we move on, she wants to like leave. She wants to celebrate like with Daniel Webster, and like she gives him like a big hug. Yeah. She's like, "Thank you for helping me win. Like you were really helpful." And he's like, "No, don't worry about it. Like I'm just gonna go like walk into the darkness." Like on the side. And he just like fades out. And a part of me like felt like he like made an extra deal. He was like. But I think I guess he already sold his souls. Like
he's like done. Basically,
there's nothing else he can give. So. Yeah, I guess he's just kind of like low-key like happy that he at least won one case and like made in a good way. Real difference. Yeah. I mean, and he does say to her, he's like, it seems like you got some fire. Like maybe you can like take on the devil. Yeah. Like maybe like of all people, like you might be somebody who can do something, because I've never seen that happen before. Yeah. Like he was very shook. And then it cuts to the house, and Zelda and Hilda are going to sleep. And Zelda just walks in. She's like Hilda's like lit. She's like, we're happy. Like they got their powers back. And she like goes up to Hilda. Hilda's about to go to sleep, and Zelda's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you've been excommunicated."
Yeah, from the church.
From the church. I'm like, what the fuck?
Hilda's like, what?
Yeah, she's so confused, and she basically says it's because you help someone do like a holy baptism.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's kind of true.
You kind of went against the church,
against your family and the church. So,
yeah. So she's like, okay, you're.
And Hilda's like, what? And she's like, you're lucky they're not doing anything more.
Yeah.
And the lights turn out, and then she's like, oh, I'm scared.
It's like this close-up zoom of her like getting like scared even more. So that's an interesting storyline. We'll see how that goes. Then it cuts to Wardwell and Blackwood again, just like chilling in their like chambers. And Blackwood's just like happy because he's like, I won the case basically, like I got this far. She's like, it's only a half million, like relax.
Anything, yeah.
And she says a cool line where she says, real corruption is a thin blade. Like you're going in here like hammering down, like trying to get her. Like it's all about like
men are so obvious basically. Like I'm gonna do it the right way basically.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And she says you have to go after the ones that she loves. Yeah. Like that's her long game.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to her with all the girls at book club.
At the book club.
Like Roz,
there's a new book club now.
So before that happens, Roz is like looking at herself in the mirror, and then she sees like her eyes go black. Yeah. So she's like having like a trippy moment, and then it cuts to like Sabrina being like, "Come through, like let's go to this like separate area." And then you see like all the girls in Wicca are starting their own secret book club that is being led by Miss Wardwell.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Don't worry, guys, I got a book for all of you." So like obviously she's like
gonna do something for everyone. Yeah.
And it's like great. Like great guys, we're all fucked. And that's the episode.
That's it.
That's the end of the episode.
It was good.
It was really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. Let's get into our recap roundups. Best moment.
My best moment was, I think, the moment with Harvey and Sabrina in the forest when they're undressing. I think it was just a cute moment without getting all the way there, without getting them to like, sleep with each other or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just like a really cute moment.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think it was kind of unnecessary, like having to do it in the woods, but I'm so like, it makes their love for each other and just like their innocent love for each other makes it okay. Like, yeah, I think just like, you probably would do that at 15 years old with like your boyfriend.
If
to
you're
just,
a witch, yeah, trying to figure out if you're a witch.
Enjoy your life. Yeah. Yeah, if you're a witch. My best moment was the whole like last scene in the courtroom, because I just felt like even the doors slamming open and him having to like make the plea deal with the devil at the very end, and her like getting a conclusion. I think like this whole episode is about her being on trial, so us realizing that now she gets to live a mortal life, but at the same time has to attend the academy. Like that is going to be like the next like 7 episodes or whatever, like her just like living that experience, because baptism failed. This is like the conclusion. Like, and it was good. I thought it was like a good high stakes kind of scene.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
My WTF moment was when Hilda shows the receipts, and she's like, she was baptized in a Christian church the day before. We have the stamp of approval, whatever, and I was just shooketh because I was like, I did not expect this, crazy. And in that moment, like, they can't do anything. There's like proof, so it was really shocking.
Mine kind of is attached to that, because mine is the excommunication, realizing that like freaking Hilda gets excommunicated, and what does that all entail? Like, does she have to now go to like
does she lose her powers, she just can't talk to anyone?
Decay? Is she like gonna be stuck at the house with Ambrose? Like, what's the situation? She's not allowed to go to mass. Like, what are the repercussions outside of just getting
I definitely think that comment that Zelda made a couple episodes ago, or maybe it was last episode, where she was like, I kill you, and like it takes you longer to come back each time. Like one day you're not gonna come back at all. Right. I feel like there's something more to that too.
I really hope that Hilda doesn't die. That would be so bummy.
No, I know, and I just can't believe they're gonna kill one of the ants off, but I mean, it's possible.
I guess it's possible, but yeah, we'll see.
MVP. My MVP is Sabrina. I think she's obviously the main, star of the show. Fine, cool. But the way she fights for herself and the way she fights for her rights is just a beautiful thing to watch. This young girl who obviously hasn't been guided that much, because her aunts haven't told her shit about her life. But somehow she's piecing these things together. She's fighting for herself. She's fighting to have this choice. And I think it speaks volumes for all of us. And the generation even before you and me, to be like, you always have a choice. You have the power to choose whatever you want for your own life, and that's totally fine. So it's big. She's like a really amazing character. Like,
her character, like in the witch world, definitely speaks volumes, like you said, to like the world itself. And she even kind of mentions it in this episode where she says like, people are really fighting for like things they have no control over.
True.
I need to like do this for myself, because this seems like a cakewalk in comparison to like everybody else's like problems right now in the real world. So I think like, I think it's definitely like something that we have to remind ourselves about, like, it's look outside of like yourself a little bit and realize that your problems might be huge, but like other people's problems are just as huge, and you know, like we're all out here fighting the good fight. And yeah, for sure, Sabrina's definitely an MVP. But my MVP is a little bit more shallow. It's Ambrose, because he got that day in this episode.
Wow.
And I was like into it. Like I was just like feeling him.
I'm like, she's gonna change the world. You're like, he got the dude.
I don't know. I don't know, like, beyond Sabrina, there's any other character that like I feel like is like the MVP of this episode. But Ambrose is like a cool guy, and I just like to see that moment.
LVP.
My LVP is gonna go to Zelda, because I hate that bee. She is so useless. Like, she just sits there and like, and here's my thing with her. I don't know if she genuinely like cares about Sabrina, or she just wants her like powers back, or she wants her youth back. Like, she's on this fine line of like, I feel like she feels sorry for Sabrina, or like she loves her in some way, as her own daughter. But then she does this shit where like, I'm like, you're so evil too.
Yeah, I don't think she's evil. I just, like, to your point, she hasn't had a moment where she really comes through for the family.
And I think we'll see that. I think we'll have to see that at some point to humanize her a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but for this one, she was my LVP for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But mine is the devil himself, the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
No shade against the Dark Lord. I'm like, ooh.
If you're listening,
sorry about it. But yeah, I just think that he kind of folds at the very end of the episode, where he shows his emotion. He realizes that, like, you know, when she stands up and calls him outrageous and like his attitude outrageous, he like comes out of the floor, like he, like, the doors pop off. So you can tell that while he in the beginning of the episode like kind of throws this at Sabrina to intimidate her with the possession of the principal, she turns around and like just like yells at him, and he like gets just as frustrated and gets emotional about her attitude with him too. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But like, yeah, LVP. I don't think he won in this whole situation at all. Like, I think that she got a good deal out of this. Like, it doesn't seem like there's anything that's like legally, like, it's not like she like wrote like you have to be the servant or anything, like all that shit that she was gonna have to do at the baptism. So it seems like she got a pretty good deal out of it, and I'm surprised that he actually like went for it. So yeah. I guess he really wants her at that school. Like, we'll see how that all kind of like pans out.
The best line.
Yeah.
My best line was from Mr. Webster.
Okay.
And he says, "Nobody's ever beaten the devil, but you just might." Mm-hmm. And it was such a powerful line to say to her.
Yeah.
Especially with his experience. He's like, I've never seen this happen before.
Yeah.
And here's this little girl who's like questioning everything and sort of, like she got a sicker deal for sure.
For sure.
And it was just such a powerful line.
Yeah. Mine is going to go to Miss Wardwell, even though she was like a pretty shitty character this episode. It's just bringing back that whole feminism.
She has some good lines,
she has some
for
really
sure.
Good lines.
Yeah.
That whole thing about the thin blade, but also like a little bit earlier in the episode, she says, "High priest or not, you're still a man, and I feast on male flesh." And I think that I don't know if it was like literal or figurative, but like I think that her just having this ability to see outside of like what a man would do in a situation like this definitely just like underscores the fact that like either Roberto or just the way that this show has kind of like framed itself is all about women in power and how they work the world, kind of in a way. Even though the Dark Lord is a Dark Lord, he does seem to like put a lot of like effort into her to make sure that she gets a lot of shit done, and she's like playing her own like long game, and I think that she's gonna have longer and greater effects than Blackwood will.
For sure.
So yeah, into it.
Yeah.
That is the episode, guys. Let us know what you thought about episode 3. Make sure you guys tweet us and comment on the video below. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, guys.
And that's it. Bye.